The moment the engines failed, an invisible wave of panic swept through the cabin. For the 161 passengers on board, what had been a routine flight transformed in an instant into a fight for survival. Hearts raced, breaths shortened, and the air was thick with tension, as if the very walls of the aircraft were closing in on them. In situations like this, time becomes both an enemy and a precious commodity. Every second stretches into eternity, and every decision carries unimaginable consequences. The roar of the engines, once a comforting hum of progress, vanished into an eerie silence, leaving only the whispers of fear and the subtle creaks of a plane under stress. In that vacuum, the human mind oscillates between disbelief and the desperate need to act, often wrestling with the harsh reality that lives are balanced on the knife edge of fate. The immediate aftermath of the engines dying is chaos at the micro level. Passengers clutch their armrests, eyes darting to the faces of strangers, seeking reassurance that someone else understands the gravity of the situation. There is a sudden awareness of vulnerability, the helplessness of being hundreds of miles above the ground, trapped in a metal vessel with no control over what happens next. It is in these moments that the human instinct to survive becomes primal, raw, and all-encompassing. Some may pray quietly, whispering words they never thought they would, while others brace themselves physically, as if sheer force of will could influence the outcome. The tension becomes almost tangible, vibrating through every nerve as the body prepares for impact long before the mind fully comprehends it. Yet, amidst the fear, the story of a crisis begins to reveal layers beyond mere panic. The life-or-death scenario forces people to confront their mortality, prompting moments of reflection that are instantaneous as they are profound. Memories flash, regrets surface, and the mind clings to fleeting thoughts of loved ones almost as a lifeline against the overwhelming dread. The passenger's awareness of the stakes heightens every sensation. The rumble of the plane, the subtle changes in altitude, even the creak of a seatbelt becomes significant. Each sensory detail sharpens their perception of the impending danger, while simultaneously amplifying the terror. It is within this crucible that leadership and composure become not just admirable traits, but literal lifelines. In the absence of functional engines, the capacity of one individual to remain calm and think clearly under extreme pressure defines the difference between catastrophe and survival. For the passengers, the presence of someone who can navigate the disaster, someone who communicates assurance even in the smallest gestures or whispers, begins to transform fear into cautious hope. The engines may have failed, but the human spirit's capacity to respond, adapt, and endure remains active, shaping the unfolding drama in ways that are both terrifying and awe-inspiring. In the end, the life-or-death crisis does more than test skill. It lays bare courage, resilience, and the profound weight of responsibility in moments when every heartbeat counts. From the moment the crisis began, it was clear that the true center of the storm was not the failing engines, but the person at the controls. She was not just a pilot executing procedures. She was a calm force in the eye of chaos, a professional whose experience had been forged in situations far more harrowing than this one. Her whisper, "Relax, I've landed worse," was not merely words, it was a lifeline, a declaration of authority and mastery that cut through the panic like a beacon of light. In that single phrase, she conveyed confidence, reassurance, and the implicit knowledge that she had faced the impossible before and survived. For the passengers, it was a moment of clarity, a reminder that even in the midst of a dire situation, competence and courage could still prevail. Her heroism was not the dramatic, over-the-top kind often imagined in stories. It was quiet, measured, and precise. Every movement in the cockpit reflected training honed over years of experience. Every decision weighed against countless variables in mere seconds. There was no room for hesitation or doubt. Hesitation could mean disaster. Yet, unlike fear-driven reactions, her actions carried calm authority. The juxtaposition of her composure against the rising panic around her highlighted the true nature of heroism. It is not about the absence of fear, but the ability to act decisively and intelligently despite it. Her calm did not erase danger, but it contained it, creating a space in which rational thought could thrive, even in the midst of a seemingly unstoppable crisis. Her presence also reshaped the energy of the cabin. Humans are remarkably responsive to leadership cues, especially under extreme stress. While 161 passengers teetered on the brink of terror, her quiet assurance allowed some measure of trust to form. The simple act of communicating competence and control had a contagious effect. People clutched their loved ones with a steadier grip, they breathed more evenly, and they subconsciously began to align their hope with her skill. This is the subtle, often unacknowledged aspect of heroic leadership, the ability to influence emotions and perceptions through calm, measured presence. It is a form of courage that transcends physical ability, one that relies on emotional intelligence as much as technical skill. Moreover, her heroism was defined by experience tempered with humility. She had landed planes in conditions worse than this one before, and that experience informed every micro-decision she made. She knew what worked, what didn't, and when improvisation was necessary. There was no bravura, no self-aggrandizing gestures, just a professional, fully aware of the stakes, acting with precision and care. This level of mastery inspires not through spectacle, but through quiet competence, showing that true courage is as much about preparation and skill as it is about valor in the moment. In essence, she embodied the ideal of a heroic protagonist in a crisis, calm, competent, and unwavering, a steady anchor in a sea of fear. Her actions demonstrated that heroism is not always loud or visible, but it is profoundly impactful. When lives hang on the balance, the ability to remain composed and act decisively is the difference between catastrophe and survival. And in this story, she was that difference, quietly yet undeniably for every one of the 161 souls depending on her. The cabin was a storm of raw emotion, a swirling mix of fear, disbelief, and frantic energy. The engines had failed, and in that instant, the invisible boundary between safety and catastrophe disappeared. For the 161 passengers, the world shrank to the metal confines of the aircraft, where every sound, every shift in the plane's movement, and every subtle vibration became a harbinger of danger. Panic is contagious, and as it spread like wildfire through the cabin, rational thought began to falter. People gripped their seats, whispered frantic prayers, and exchanged anxious glances, each seeking reassurance from someone, anyone who seemed in control. This is the essence of psychological tension in moments of crisis. The mind oscillates between fear and hope, disbelief and acceptance, paralysis and the urgent need to act. Amid this chaos, the pilot's calm presence became a psychological anchor. While passengers' minds raced ahead to worst-case scenarios, she embodied deliberate stillness, a deliberate counterbalance to the growing hysteria. Her whisper, "Relax, I've landed worse," carried far more weight than its words alone. It was a signal that someone capable, someone with both skill and experience, was fully aware of the situation and had it under control. Psychologically, this kind of calm is transformative. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but confidence, especially when expressed subtly and deliberately, can contain it, giving people a sense that survival is not only possible, but probable if they follow the guidance of someone competent. The contrast between panic and composure heightens every emotional response. As passengers' adrenaline surged, their perception of danger intensified, amplifying every sound and movement. Screams and murmurs bounced through the cabin, mingling with the creaks and groans of a stressed aircraft. The mind becomes hyper-aware in such moments, and yet in the presence of someone unshakably calm, it can also focus and adapt. People began unconsciously mimicking her steadiness, taking slower breaths, lowering tense shoulders, and responding to instructions with more precision. In effect, the pilot's composure reshaped the collective psyche of the cabin, transforming raw terror into cautious, disciplined awareness.
Psychological tension is not merely about fear, it is also about expectation. Each passenger is acutely aware of their dependence on someone else's expertise, and the uncertainty of the unknown magnifies every thought and sensation. They wonder about impact, control, and whether the worst-case scenario is inevitable. This mixture of dread and anticipation creates a cognitive tension that is exhausting, mentally taxing, and deeply immersive. The pilot's calm serves as an antidote, a stabilizing force that allows the mind to navigate uncertainty without succumbing entirely to panic. In extreme circumstances, psychological tension also brings out unexpected resilience. While fear is the initial response, the juxtaposition of calm leadership allows latent courage and adaptability to surface. Passengers begin to follow instructions, support each other, and mentally prepare for the challenges ahead. This tension, heightened by fear but modulated by calm, creates the crucible in which human endurance, composure, and trust are forged. The story of psychological tension and calm amid chaos is ultimately a story of human adaptability, of how the mind teeters on the edge of despair, yet finds balance when guided by steady hands, clear reasoning, and quiet confidence. The failure of the engines transformed the flight into a stark confrontation with the limits of human ingenuity and survival. When technology that people rely on every day suddenly ceases to function, it strips away the illusion of control and forces immediate reliance on skill, experience, and quick thinking. In that moment, the pilot was not just a professional following procedures, she became the central problem solver in a scenario where there were no traditional safeguards. Each decision carried monumental weight because there was no room for error. The plane's altitude, speed, angle, and trajectory all demanded careful assessment in real time, yet the human mind under pressure is prone to panic, making the pilot's ability to think clearly and act decisively absolutely crucial. Survival in such circumstances is never accidental. It is the product of experience, preparation, and the capacity to remain composed under extreme stress. Extreme problem-solving becomes both a mental and physical challenge. The pilot had to evaluate multiple factors simultaneously: the plane's remaining altitude, the rate of descent, wind patterns, the proximity of safe landing zones, and the integrity of the aircraft itself. There was no step-by-step checklist that could address the unique combination of failures unfolding. Improvisation, guided by deep knowledge and prior experience, became the only viable path forward. Every maneuver was calculated, measured, and executed with precision, balancing the need to maintain stability with the urgent pressure to bring the aircraft closer to safety. The success of each small adjustment could mean the difference between life and death, magnifying the intensity of the situation and the importance of problem-solving under extreme pressure. Passengers, while mostly unaware of the technical complexities involved, sensed the stakes and the skill being applied. The human instinct for survival is keenly responsive to competence. They could see in her calm movements and measured words that she was orchestrating a path towards safety. Trust became a vital component of the survival equation. They surrendered to her expertise, focusing not on the fear that gripped them, but on the instructions and guidance provided. This interplay of human courage and skill underscores the broader truth of survival against the odds. It requires not only technical expertise, but also the ability to inspire confidence and coordinate collective effort, even passively.
Survival in such a scenario is also about resourcefulness. The pilot had to assess available options quickly and eliminate those that posed unacceptable risk. Every decision, from glide trajectory to speed adjustments to emergency protocols, was an exercise in applied knowledge under stress. The plane itself became both obstacle and tool, with every creak, vibration, and response informing the choices being made. This delicate interplay between human skill and mechanical reality demonstrates how survival hinges on the capacity to adapt rapidly, innovate under pressure, and maintain a clear sense of priorities when the margin for error is nearly non-existent. Ultimately, survival against the odds is a testament to human resilience and problem-solving under extreme conditions. It is not about luck, it is about preparation, courage, and the ability to act decisively when all conventional systems fail. The story of the pilot and the passengers illustrates how mastery, ingenuity, and calm focus can transform a seemingly hopeless situation into one of triumph, showing that even in the face of catastrophic failure, human skill and determination can prevail. In moments of extreme danger, technical skill alone is not enough to secure survival. The emotional dimension becomes just as critical. The pilot's whisper, "Relax, I've landed worse," exemplifies this delicate interplay between competence and empathy, showing that leadership under pressure is as much about human connection as it is about procedural mastery. By addressing the passengers' fear directly, she acknowledged their vulnerability and offered reassurance in a way that transcended words. This act of empathy is not sentimental, it is strategic. When people feel seen, understood, and guided, their stress responses are moderated, allowing them to act more effectively and follow instructions that may be critical to their survival. Emotional intelligence in a crisis is a form of influence, and it transforms panic into cooperative action. Trust is an essential component of this dynamic. The passengers, suspended hundreds of miles above the ground in a powerless plane, had no choice but to place their lives in the hands of the pilot. Their survival depended not only on her skill, but also on their belief in her ability to navigate the situation. Trust, however, is not granted automatically. It is earned through calm decisiveness, clear communication, and consistent competence. Every subtle movement in the cockpit, every measured adjustment, and every word of reassurance contributed to a growing sense of security, allowing the passengers to shift from paralyzing fear to focused attention. In this way, emotional connection and trust become survival tools, shaping human behavior under extreme stress. Empathy in such a scenario also fosters collective resilience. When one person radiates calm and confidence, it has a ripple effect throughout the cabin. Passengers begin to support each other in small but meaningful ways, holding hands, sharing comforting words, following instructions attentively, or simply steadying themselves for what's to come. The pilot's ability to convey reassurance strengthens not only individual resolve, but also the collective mindset of those around her. Survival is rarely a solitary achievement. It is the product of interdependent action, where human emotion and trust enhance the effectiveness of technical skill. Moreover, the act of reassuring the passengers reflects a profound understanding of the psychological stakes at play. Fear is paralyzing, but hope, even in small doses, can become an engine for action. By acknowledging the passenger's terror while simultaneously asserting control and competence, the pilot created a space where hope could coexist with realism. She did not promise safety outright, she could not, but she provided a psychological anchor that helped the human mind function under pressure. In that balance between fear and hope, empathy and authority, the passengers were able to maintain focus and resilience, navigating a situation that would have otherwise been overwhelming. Ultimately, the story underscores that leadership in life-threatening circumstances is inseparable from emotional intelligence. The pilot's skill kept the plane in the air, but her empathy, reassurance, and ability to inspire trust enabled the passengers to endure, cooperate, and survive. Emotional connection becomes as vital as technical competence, and moments of shared humanity, like a calm whisper in the midst of terror, can be decisive. In this narrative, survival is not just a matter of skill, it is a testament to the power of trust, empathy, and the quiet strength of human connection when lives hang in the balance.